It's been 5 years since the World Health Organization declared the COVID-19 pandemic a global health crisis. People had to learn to work and learn under a new normal for years. In May of 2023, the WHO declared the public health emergency as over. Since then, people, workplaces, and schools have transitioned back, but kept some changes in place along the way. Macy Davis spoke with educators and a student who reflected on the pandemic and the lasting impacts.
The World Health Organization officially announced that this is a global pandemic.
We're following the coronavirus closely tonight. The novel COVID-19 has made it to Arkansas and neighboring states.
Not even 3 months into 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic is scrambling to come up with new
online courses to all online courses.
Some Region 8 schools work to take extra precautions in keeping kids healthy and safe.
Greene County Tech Schools in Paragould got a letter last week with suggested COVID-19 fighting products.
So many changes all at once, limiting contact between students and staff, wearing masks in public spaces, and canceling large events like graduations and performances.
A shark may have 3,000 teeth, some on top, some underneath.
Although the virus persists, now in 2025 things have evolved back into a new normal. Masks were dropped in schools and those large events are back in full swing. Looking back though, it was a tough time.
We were afraid, fear struck. No one knew anything about COVID. We were hearing all of these things from the health department and national news about the spread of the virus and those type of things. So our number one concern was the safety of our students and staff.
Scott Garish is the superintendent at the Greene County Tech School District. In 2020, he was the assistant superintendent working with nurses and state officials to figure out what needed to be done to ensure the safety of students and staff. A big roadblock from the start, changing the way learning was conducted.
Well, now not only are we not seeing our children face to face, but we're having to learn how to teach over, a digital media instead of, in our rooms together.
Garish said the lack of social emotional interactions handicapped the teachers and students. Philip Morgan felt some of those gaps firsthand. He was a student at Riverside and Lake City right when COVID procedures first started going into effect.
I ran for student council my freshman year, and I actually won without knowing anybody.
Like Morgan said, he didn't really know anyone at the school. He had just moved to the area his freshman year.
I didn't have really many friends, so I'd feel alone going to the cafeteria. You were there, but sometimes it was so quiet. It just felt empty. The hallways were empty.
Due to social distancing, Morgan said it impacted the mental health of him and his peers.
A lot of people probably developed fears of speaking to people, or like presentations, presenting things to large classes.
Morgan believes there was some good that came out of the pandemic. There was a lot of online coursework that helped students adjust to a college learning style that relies heavily on digital platforms. He added that his communication skills developed in a different way due to having to communicate a lot through email.
Especially when you're online, you'd have to be able to tell your teacher what you were struggling with and how you specifically needed help, because they weren't there with you.
For educators, the struggle from the beginning was social distancing.
I was thinking, how in the world are we going to do the restrictions with 3- and 4-year-olds?
Cody Potter is the current assistant superintendent at GCT. In 2020, she was the principal at the preschool.
I didn't want the adults acting like to the kids that, don't come too close, or I didn't want to frighten them, I think is my main concern at the time.
In the height of COVID, kids would be out of school for days. Contact tracing meant even more kids would have to stay home. When it came down to quarantine guidelines, it could mean an entire classroom out of school, including teachers. This taking a toll on student learning. Potter and other school administrators have been trying to find learning gaps that might have been caused by the pandemic.
We might look at a certain grade level or a group of students, and it seems like that entire grade may be struggling in one area. And when we go back and we're like, where did we teach that?
Like many schools, GCT was forced to go virtual often when that's not what the school was designed to do.
We're having to juggle back and forth with, is this something we're missing now currently in grade level instruction? Or is this a foundational skill that we were not able to get whenever the COVID time hit? And if it's in green, we've seen a growth. And if it's in the pink color, then there was a decline of some sort. What we're getting creative with is how can we intervene and embed some of those things that we might have missed before.
Potter said it's difficult for them to track student progress from the pandemic.
If we just strictly look at ACT Aspire, and that test we had for several years, so you do see a decline the year before anything with COVID hit to the next year that we tested. So there was a gap year there that nobody tested in the state. And then the next year, absolutely, we had a decline. And then we were seeing growth, steady growth, going back up, trying to even get back to where we were pre-COVID. And now we've had to shift to Atlas.
Graduations, now back to normal. For Morgan, his was a bit overwhelming. When he walked to get his diploma in 2024, most of the restrictions for the ceremony were lifted.
That was honestly the first time I saw that gym packed full. There were people wrapped around where we were supposed to enter.
Something Morgan remembers thinking at the ceremony, him and his classmates survived, and it was time to move on.
We all came together, and specifically going into the circle towards the end of the ceremony, elbow to elbow, and tossing our caps up in the middle of the gym. That moment right there made it. The past 3-4 years of struggle, it made it worth it.
Reporting in Jonesboro, Macy Davis, K8 News.